bit of a ride.
Bit of a ride, yeah. This one's actually a little pretty simple. So, Simon has a voice, which is a joke machine that doesn't stop. And so they ventured into the cave and encountered a monster. What was it? What was it called again?
A Bonoloth?
Yeah, it was a
I believe some people from chat were saying it was from some of the 3rd and 3.5 edition monster manuals, which looks like it's going to be upcoming in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes.
Mm-hmm. And they fought that, and during the fight, Evelyn died, was killed by it, and she ended up in the what we think is the soulmonger.
In the soulmonger, yes.
And they end up defeating the monster, but inside the soulmonger, Evelyn meets up with Xeris, a high up member of the Lathander clergy, and also meets up with a bunch of NPCs from Acquisitions Inc. And then they figure out that
justice for Hypno.
Yeah,
is all I can say. Justice for Hypno.
They encounter the thing that's feeding off the soulmonger, which is like some sort of like baby god, and it's been sending out like these little spheres that basically consume souls. And so Evelyn, with the prodding of Xeris, decides to basically sacrifice herself, basically being what was basically the worm in the apple. What was the phrase? And was consumed by one of the spheres, and kind of like became a little sun inside the thing that seemingly removed the death curse from everyone else, and the Waffle crew is back at full max HP and stuff like that. So I guess we'll have to figure out what happens next week with that.
And interesting to note is that Lathander was not Lathander. I suppose Lathander's always right, but Van Richten was right all along.
Yes.
That Evelyn did need to sacrifice herself to save her friends in more than just the rings, but in going to the soulmonger and being the thing that destroyed it from the inside.
Yes.
Whether she's able to come out alive after this, I'm not sure.
There are options for that, I think. Like
Chris wouldn't let Evelyn die and not be a player anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that
I think either it has something to do with the rings, the 2 rings that Strixon that the party has, or the fact that like while the construct body isn't her actual body, her soul's in there. Her body might be someplace else, and that might be like the thing that comes back. She might come back as a human again, maybe. Who knows?
Adol1004 says, "Could Evelyn be the newborn god?" Does that make any sense to you guys?
Could she be a god?
She's a chosen?
I think if anything, I feel like she's a proxy of Lathander. Either his chosen, or further than that, the one who acts for him as someone who he channels his power through. So someone's suggesting that she might end up as a saint. I'm honestly not sure what's going to happen to her. That's the big thing I'm taking away from this, is that I have no idea what Chris is planning for her.
All right, so I've had that theory for a long time that she's going to be a saint, but who knows, right? But they do have a piece of her soul in the ring, right? So I think what they were discussing at the end was summoning Shemeshka and having her cast Raise Dead, using the soul piece. Is that possible?
For like resurrection?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you could, but that's a big risk.
It's
possible.
I suppose it's possible that she'd be able to come back now, since her soul hasn't been consumed. Well, she's still there.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that since the curse has ended, they can just start resurrecting and revivifying now.
Yeah.
ID Buddy says Chris did say Evelyn was supposed to be getting an upgrade soonish. Maybe this leads to it in an alternate way than he intended. Maybe.
Interesting. Yeah. Could be. What did you guys think about the crumbling towers into the red? What'd you get from that?
Okay. Well, at first it made me think a lot about the Abyss or about Pandemonium or Limbo, one of the lower planes. But thinking about the crumbling into the red, it was definitely the Soulmonger. We know it was the Soulmonger, and especially if you've watched the Acquisitions Inc. episode where they go in and into the tomb and destroy the Soulmonger. That's probably why the towers are crumbling, because Omen and Co come up in a sort of time machine spaceship up from lava, and they basically start destroying the pillars upon which the Soulmonger is resting, which is above this big pool of lava.
Yeah.
What I was thinking when he was describing it was, first I thought it sounded just like Sharn from Eberron, but then the more he described it, then I thought it might have been this place called Kin Oin, which is it's like just like he described, has all these side towers, and it's actually alive, and it's like the spine of a god or something like that. But I've never really understood Kin Oin, or I never really got into it, so I don't really know all the specifics. But yeah, it's like it could have just been some like representation of, you know what I mean? Because I think in the book the creature is in the tomb, but we veered off to the side because of the damage that was done. So now he's kind of Zeres. Do you guys know if Zeres is from something?
I don't know. I was going to ask you guys, you two about that. Is Zeres or anything? Or was that?
I hadn't actually heard of her.
Yeah, I haven't either, and it was like, why is she there now? You know what I mean? It's like I had a lot of questions, like, okay, why she's died? How'd she die? Why is she here? You know what I mean? It's like it's an interesting like setup. KKRP. Oh, it's Dylan. I couldn't find anything on Zeres when I looked. Okay, and the Forgotten Realms is so gigantic. That, who knows? It's probably from something, but who knows? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So okay, so she went in, and she became a sun, and destroyed the Atropol. Is that right?
It seems that way. I think. Like,
did she resume her form?
No, I think she's left in that light. I think at that moment, and we'll probably find out next week what that's about.
But she's still sentient. Is that the deal?
I don't know. They kind of just he kind of stopped at that point.
He said that she was able to look down at at all the souls, so I'm assuming that's still fine.
Dan Dillon, who wrote Genie's Great and Small, which is on the DM's Guild, which is really good. I think it's a last-minute thing by Chris. She's not an extant character that I can find. I'm guessing the idea is she died of the death curse, probably having been rezzed at some point. That makes sense, right? Manga begged, do you think the Raven Queen could bring Evelyn back? Yeah?
Could.
I mean, I know that Strix knows Revivify. That was something that Holly had stated that Strix had taken because they were going to need it at some point. I think that once Strix is conscious and stops panicking, he's probably going to try heal or revivify or get her thing back.
Yeah. Although that body is in a lot of pieces at that moment. Hopefully it's...
I almost wonder if to get Evelyn back, if you'd need to cast Mend or something.
Yeah, because pieces fell off. Yeah.
So I almost wonder if you'd need a Resurrect or something a bit more powerful, more akin to what the or even something like True Resurrection, or actually maybe Reincarnate
Oh, that would be interesting.
That would be really funny.
If Evelyn's getting an upgrade, then reincarnate would be interesting, and I'm sure that Chris would not just roll on a chart, but would have something quite specific for that.
Yeah, for people who don't know, reincarnate, you roll on a chart for what race you come back as, and you could be a dragonborn, dwarf, elf, gnome, half orc, halfling, human, tiefling. But as you're right, Chris might have some who knows what he might come up with. That would be really cool if they did that. Reincarnate, I think that would be really awesome. ID Buddy. Speaking of which, because of the random soul picking, is Artist still able to
I think
come
Artist is dead. I think he's been devoured.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, he's been there longer.
He has been there a while. And she didn't see him amongst the ghosts, right?
So or Scubby.
Yeah, Scubby's
Scubby Hornswallow.
Just has the worst luck. So.
Scubby Hornswallow. I love those NPCs that he made there.
That's poor.
ID Buddy, the problem with Revivify is they need a 300 gold piece value diamond. Buddy, I believe Dieth has had that diamond for like freaking 50 sessions.
They still have a diamond.
Yep, they still have one.
How cool would that be, actually, if he busted that out? That would be really awesome.
That would be really awesome.
Dandelion. Revivify can revive a construct or any creature, but at this point you need a reincarnate, resurrection, or true resurrection to get Evelyn back. Because I think Revivify has to be within a minute, I think. But, Chris might bend the rules. I mean, it's a weird thing, It's like she fell apart, and she's a robot, and, she's a holy kind of entity. For all we know, next session is going to start with, like, Lathander or some agent of Lathander giving her like a new lease on life. She's been visited by 1 or 2 saints so far, right? So maybe
Saint Markovia and Saint Andral. Well, Library of Alexandria thinks that Evelyn could return as an Asimar.
Oh, that would be crazy. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
he's got so many cool options, that they could do. It's almost like I kind of feel like it would be okay if she just made a different character for a few sessions until the time came when they could bring Evelyn back. Would you guys be up for that, or do you want to see her come back right away?
I think I'd rather Anna sit out for a few games whilst that's happening, because I don't think that another character would quite have the same impact. But if you didn't have Anna even there, or if you didn't even have Evelyn there, then you'd really feel that void.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the 3 of them go thinking that Evelyn's actually dead before bringing Anna back. Or Evelyn. That would be really dark, but like...
TK has an idea. Evelyn's spirit possessing Van Richten.
Oh my god.
Wow. That would be really, really weird. And that would actually be interesting because Paulton hates Von Richten. That would be really weird. That's a very interesting idea.
Yeah. One of the ideas that TK flew around was, and Maz flew around, was that Simon would have Van Richten's voice, and that would be crazy. That was one of the options that were arising.
Manga Bent. What are the required components for reincarnate? You would need oils and stuff worth 1,000 gold. You touch a dead humanoid or a piece of a dead humanoid. Provided that the creature has been dead no longer than 10 days, the spell forms a new adult body for it and then calls the soul to enter the body. If the target soul isn't free or willing to do so, the spell fails. So, Chris might rule that the soul piece in the ring might work. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. He's got a lot of options. I didn't even think of that, but there's a million ways.
A lot of.
I do agree that halfling Evelyn would be adorable.
Even smaller.
Yeah, halfling Evelyn would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Tiny little.
Speaking of Simon. That happened.
I wrote down.
It was.
I wrote down every joke, just so you know.
It was good. It's like.
I wrote down every single one. Do you want it? I just want to see if you remember. I'm gonna. You tell me what the punchline was. Okay. There's two. I'm gonna read the two that I really like the most. What did the shoe say to the pants? Do you remember?
Sup, britches.
Yes. Which
that was perhaps my favorite.
I'm gonna work that into a conversation in real life. Why did the Scarecrow win a prize? Because it was outstanding in its field.
I think perhaps our next competition should be something to do with having the worst pun-related joke.
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
That's the next one. Simon joke, best Simon joke.
Yeah.
Which I guess would be worst Simon joke, because the worse it is, the more I'm gonna like it. ID buddy.
Now,
Carrot was looking for what? Carrot was also looking for body renewal spells and sigil.
Oh,
as well?
Yeah, he was gonna.
Carrick,
yeah.
Carrick?
From the live show, the Unplugged live show. Patrick Rothfuss.
Oh. Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why he stayed there.
People. You guys pulling out all sorts of crazy stuff in here. I loved Simon jokes. I was depressed when Simon died super quick.
Yeah.
But he has a soul.
Yeah.
He has a soul. Yeah. Did you guys like Simon talking? What did you think?
It was funny. I liked it.
It was very funny.
It's like you can't kill him now. We just got rolling. Chris must have. Did Chris? He must have Googled those or something. Did he? You think he had a list in front of him, or?
I think he's been spending a lot of time researching those.
That seems like
or talking to Maz.
That seems like a fun project to make as many jokes.
I was like he fired them off, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
and
he had
like a bajillion of them. He didn't have like one. He had
a
ton of them.
Yeah, I got the feeling that if they kept asking, he would have just kept going.
Ryujin 0. By the way, did people notice that the scene last week between the Waffle Crew and the Raven Queen was an homage to the Ghostbusters versus Gozer scene in Ghostbusters? Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
All I remember from that is, "Are you the Keymaster?" Remember? And I always felt so sorry for Rick Moranis in that movie. He was so weird looking.
I do not remember much of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I was very little when I saw it, and it left a real mark on me. It was really a weird movie. ID buddy. Also, how heartbroken did everyone get when Nate reacted to Simon's soul? I didn't get heart. I liked Nate's reaction to Evelyn dying.
To Evelyn, yes.
Yeah.
That was very powerful, and I like that Nate has been showing the past 2 episodes that Polton really does care. It's just he's worried about forming these attachments for when things like this happen.
I mean, Polton did fight the remainder of that monster by himself. Like, he went after.
In that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Strix dropped a fireball in that crevice.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris ruled that the fire took up the space. That's because it's funny because it's been coming up in my games over and over where it's like, okay, I'm casting a fireball.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just drop it in the corner and we're cool? But he ruled that all of that fire filled the space, and it came out, and it's like that was kind of it was an interesting rule. It's kind of like, I don't know if he's ever set the precedent or not, but that was like a little whoa, because it killed the party almost. That call,
Yeah.
I was not ready for that. That was very weird, right?
It did make sense because it was in a tunnel thing, so it just had to go. So it's a 30-foot wide thing, and it has to go somewhere. So a little chute is a place where it would spread. So I can.
And she forgot to careful spell herself, which I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't care.
He was really picking up on a lot of those player mistakes or slip ups this session.
I'm glad
a slight little metagame with Evelyn.
I'm glad that DF made his saves, because with his 19, that probably would have straight up killed him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then what would have happened? I guess.
Well, he has the soul
right.
things.
He's got the soul thing. You're right. Anybody? When it was mentioned, Simon showed up in the Soulmonger. He tore his headphones off. Oh, I guess Nate tore his headphones off. I didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
Dan Dillon. It's a very old school ruling where Fireball used to fill volume. From 3E forward, it fills area, doesn't blow back. Oh, yeah, because it kind of like took me by surprise that he was like, oh, he's doing this because I mean, if it's just like a squeezy little crevice, that's a ton of fire. Yeah, and that would take out everybody. It was like, whoa, like has he always been doing this? I don't remember. I don't really care. But it's just like it changed it changed everything, like the whole thing.
And Black Razor Bill, in this particular case, I don't mind that he metagamed and chose to attack Evelyn instead, because it seems like Chris wanted to get one of them into the Soulmonger, but getting Evelyn into the Soulmonger was ideal, and it gave us this really amazing piece of story.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of revelation as well. Though I guess I almost wish that it hadn't come from that little metagaming bit, but this I don't feel is quite as egregious as a couple of episodes ago with the whole Miranda thing.
So
getting my opinions on everything.
So, that's right. And near the beginning of the episode, they went into the cave, and it's a hallway where there's 3 paths. There's purple, red, and gold. I don't want to spoil too much, but that's in the adventure. But this was, I think this was the Shadowfell version of that, like the overlap of that tunnel. So he did the Shadowfell version, and he used the Balhanoth in it instead. And I think he said there was a spider wall or something. Is that right? Was there some or no? It was just the Balhanoth. Was there any portals or anything? Mouth. Any archways or doorways or anything that he described?
I didn't sense that they went through any sort of like portal or anything like that. So there's there's something in there that relates to the tomb where they fought the Balhanoth, right?
Yeah, and it was like, oh, is this his? Because I was thinking, okay, so they're in the overlapping part of the Shadowfell. They're in the tomb on the Shadowfell side. So it's like I was wondering if he was going to walk them through a misty archway, and they were going to go back into the normal tomb. I don't want to spoil too much, but that's going to put them in a spot that they're trying to get to, and they probably don't know it.
Question: I have not really watched Force Grey, which I believe is also part of the same universe as Waffle and Aking.
Yeah.
Has a Serac been dealt with?
I don't know. I know they defeated the him and the Afterfall, but I don't know if I don't think you necessarily can deal with a Serac, right? He's a lich, right?
So wait, okay, so at the live show they did that?
The finale, I think, was supposedly the end, like the end of that, like the confrontation with a Serac.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
I didn't see that. Do you guys know what happened?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
Bad 007 says no, they did not. They were killed by a Serac and resurrected.
Oh.
But as per the Tomb of Annihilation guide, a Serac is, well, he's a lich and he's not really killable. You can defeat him, but he has a phylactery somewhere on another plane hidden, and if he drops low enough, but not low enough to outright be knocked unconscious, then he will just flee. So there is really no winning against it, but
Azrak is like really tough, and I don't want to spoil much, but he's got that staff. And it's like, because I'm getting ready to run that in my game, and it's like looking at it like, oh my god, how bad, because he has really high level spells, And it's like, there's some that are just like, if I use that spell, they're screwed. So I can just imagine what that Forest Grey fight must have been like. I gotta watch that. Matt Mercer running Acererak. I bet that was really cool.
If it's similar to how he ran Vecna, then I'd be very interested to see.
Yeah, was his? I didn't
Yes.
see. His Vecna was like.
It was good. Yeah, it
was the slight Critical Role spoilers for the first campaign, but I'm assuming a lot of people would already know. Vecna was the final villain and final boss for the Critical Role group in their first season or first campaign. So that included like he had basically reascended to godhood and had 9th level spells and everything. So
yeah.
Can you tell me, people who haven't seen it yet, hold your ears for a second. Did they kill Vecna on that show? They did.
Oh, they didn't quite kill him, but they sealed him because in Critical Role they have this kind of gate between the prime material plane and the gods, and so they managed to seal him behind the barrier, and he's no longer an issue.
Oh, yeah. Somebody had told me about that barrier. That sounded really cool. He has a lot of really cool ideas. That's good. That sounded really cool. All right.
I will say that battle is a very interesting. Well, it's great proof of how powerful bards can be.
Was that with
because
counterspell? Is that what that was?
With counterspells being very clutch.
Counterspell.
But
did Vecna counterspell a counterspell at all, or no?
I believe the bard counterspelled a counterspell. But
that's awesome.
I think that if you're wanting to look at just how effective bards can be, look at Critical Role as one guide of how to do it, because it can get pretty crazy. And I'm looking forward to when Nate gets to those kinds of levels where he can start getting into where he takes Polton into being a bit more confident and being more with the party and being able to pull off those kinds of things. Because we know he has counterspell, because he counterspelled Strix at one point.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Going to be interesting to see.
That's right. Cyranus. Okay, I looked it up. Fireball spreads around corners, so the ruling is pretty solid. All right. Silverhood. Don't want to spoil too much, but Acererak has a lot of deadly at-will spells. Yes.
And he has lair actions and legendary actions because he is basically the final boss. He is if you read the Curse of Strahd campaign, he is the Strahd of this campaign.
And I'm not incredibly built up for lore, but he's a classic bad guy, right? He's the one that's Tomb of Horrors, right? He's the Tomb of Horrors.
He's from the original Tomb of Horrors. Acererak is a very interesting character, especially in over the entirety of D&D history, going back to the Gary Gygax era. He was the boss at the end of Tomb of Horrors, and it wasn't his phylactery in there, but was it? In
the tomb, he was a demi-lich. He was like the original demi-lich. He's just a floating skull, and he could suck your soul into his gems. And most of the time, nobody ever even got into that room. Even in 4th, when I ran it, they didn't get into the room. It's fun. But, now he's not a demi-lich now. He's not, So he's...
Is he a full lich?
Well, I don't... Okay. So, there was the Tomb of Horrors in 1st edition, then the return to the Tomb of Horrors in 2nd edition. Now, somewhere in there's a clone of Acererak or something. And then in 4th edition, they did the big hardcover Tomb of Horrors book, also by Bruce Cordell. And that was even wackier. So there's 2 or 3 Aceraks running around, depending on what the canon version of which ones lived and died. So gosh, it's funny because I read this a year ago, but I don't remember all the details. But
it's interesting because Acererak is not from Forgotten Realms originally. He's from Greyhawk, and that world he was a disciple of Vecna as well. But he's feared across the multiverse, and is definitely one of those things that links a lot of the different realms and and planes of existence. And you can also see him on the front of the Dungeon Master's Guide. That's him.
Got two books.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. If you want more information on Serac, then D&D Beyond and over on their over on their YouTube channel did a really good video about who is a Serac the Demi-Lich. So definitely check that one out.
I will. Because
it gives a lot of information on like where he sits in 5th edition and what the history behind this character is. Because he is basically the figurehead of one of the most famous / infamous D&D adventures in D&D history, that being Tomb of Horrors.
Probably the most. I think Tomb of Horrors is the most, right? I can't think of... White Plume Mountain, but Caraptus isn't like... He's not as famous as Acererak, you know? Tomb of Horrors is like the big one, pretty much, I think,
yeah.
Silver Hood. Good hypothetical fight. Who would win, Tiamat or Acererak? I would say Acererak, because Tiamat was not that hard to beat in Rise of Tiamat. I mean, I know it wasn't full Tiamat, but still, you know.
The better fight would be Strahd versus Serac.
Acererak would win. Strahd's not that... Well, you know, you never know. Who knows? It always depends on the circumstances and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say Acererak would win. Acererak just on paper has got a lot more power than Strahd. But Strahd is such a... I mean, if you're in Barovia, you know, Strahd's got the whole realm at his disposal. So...
Yes, John Tastic, Serac and Tomb of Horrors is in Ready Player One, the book, and I'm assuming the movie, but we're not going to talk about that because it's a just blatant fan service and 80s revivalism, so I am going to ignore that.
Steven Spielberg was quoted as saying, what did he say? We didn't work on a movie, it just is a movie, or something. I was like, some really bizarre comment. He's really pumped up about this movie, you know. It's like, oh, okay. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I don't know anything about it really. Just there's a DeLorean in it, and I guess there's just a ton of references to old movies.
It's like I don't care how many references you put in, make it good. And I mean that's the same with D&D, isn't it?
ID Buddy. Tomb of Horrors is where a DM takes their players when they are tired of them. Okay, Tomb of Horrors. All right, I could talk forever about this. Tomb of Horrors. It was known as a death trap dungeon where the whole point was you're gonna die. You know, and
there were no save traps.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the Green Devil face is so infamous and iconic is because if players stick their arm in there, they get sucked up and they're dead.
And like, so the Tomb of Annihilation is kind of carries on the spirit of it, because Acererak has more than one of these dungeons where everybody who dies, their souls go to him, you know. So this is just one of many dungeons, but the Tomb of Annihilation is not. The Tomb of Horrors is just, you're gonna die, and it's not fair, and it's not anything. It's literally like, this book is trying to kill you, you know? The Tomb of Annihilation is more fair, you know? It's more, you know, it's not mean.
It's like it's the death trap dungeon crawl, but with an element of you can still beat this. You have to really try for it, but you can beat it. It's the 5th edition more friendly version of the Tomb of Horrors. It's not quite so hopeless, but I mean, Shauna knows that people can still die.
Oh, people can die really easily and very fast. Some of those rooms are really very, very, very deadly if you're not careful.
Shout out to Scott Hood in the chat, who has a character in the Soulmonger at the moment in Sean's campaign.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, a freakish version of him just showed up, so.
Oh God.
With hunchback and stuff.
Did you guys catch Diath's feat?
Yes, that is an Unearthed Arcana one.
Yeah.
Human perseverance. Oh no, human determination.
I have it right here. So it's like increase your ability score by 1, and you have when you make an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can do so with advantage, and you can do it once until you take a short or long rest. So that's a good one for him.
That's quite powerful.
Yeah.
Anybody? Let's see. Where are we? Mangament. When Morty Gordy's book is released, will there be a list of famous wizards who crafted spells? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean,
I hope so.
In in the player's handbook, a lot of those spells are from Gary Gygax's original campaign. Like Tensor,
I actually
Big B, and all of them. So
I have a book which might actually help with that, which I found at my local gaming convention, which is pages from the mages, which has pages from different famous mage spellbooks, such as Blackstaff and Mordenkainen, and
really?
It's a Forgotten Realms one, but it has lots of really interesting just notes about different mage spellbooks. So that's just a side note there, but
I have never looked at that book. Did they have is Mordenkainen in there?
It's got Elminster.
Elminster.
I'm not sure about Mordenkainen. I might be wrong since this is Forgotten Realms. But they do have lots of characters that people who know Forgotten Realms would be familiar with.
I just want to say that we got our first naughty comment that I am not going to allow. So.
Oh dear.
It's not bad at all, but come on, don't be. I'm not sure what's the polite way to refer to the act that this person discussed, so I will just leave it to your imagination. Dan Dillon, Tomb of Horrors, was originally a competitive event at a convention. It's hard to compare it to an adventure as we know them today, because back then it was all about player skill, which I personally find very amusing to read about now, where they're talking about.
Yeah.
There's a story I read a while back. Okay, so Gary Gygax ran a game for a bunch of kids in the neighborhood, and one of them was this guy named Rob Kuntz, who became Gary's co-DM. And so when Gary would play, Rob Kuntz would run. And so one of the adventures Rob Kuntz wrote that actually never got published was called the Ancient Temple of the Elders or something like that. And, it's this big thing. And so a few years ago at GaryCon, Rob Kuntz was there running it. And so some people sat down to play, and, he's running it in that old school style, which is all about player skill. So you have to know about the rules. You have to, and it's totally mercilessly. And if you die, it's like, you suck, kind of right? And the people, one of the guys playing it was so put off by it, he just got up and left, because it was such an unpleasant experience, and there was a time where Dave Arneson, the co-creator of D&D, he was running a game and somebody had died, or their character went off somewhere, so the player was just sitting there for hours, and the player said something like, this really isn't fun for me to just sit here. Dave Arneson got really offended, okay, I don't care, you did something stupid, now you're gonna sit there, that was the attitude back then, and it doesn't really.
It's a very old guard attitude, isn't it? With the original players being it's all about min-maxing. It's all about how to use your abilities best for combat and for exploring. Whilst nowadays the focus is a lot more on. It can be a bit of a mix of those, a mishmash of how to use your abilities best, both for combat and as a character, and how best to optimize or have a non-optimized character for your group of players. And sometimes it's a lot more fun to have a character who is not necessarily good at something. Flaws to me are more important than what you're good at. What your character is not good at and what their flaws are speaks a lot more about how you play them.
The definition of a good player, I think, has just changed. It was a long time ago, and things are just different now. And you go from the miniature war games where it's about winning, 1 versus 1, to this thing where it's more, really, to me, it's just all about having fun. And I wouldn't want to sit at the table for 2 hours doing nothing, and the DM just says, yeah, well, it's because you suck. It's like, well, I'm going to go home then, okay? I don't want to play this game. I don't want to sit at a table for 2 hours. I don't blame the person for complaining. They paid money to play that game, and now they just have to sit there. To me, it's like, I'm glad that old attitude is gone, and this it's
Mm.
still there a little, just a touch, but now it's kind of things are just so great right now in D&D that
I think that AD&D and a lot of the AD&D settings were key to combating this attitude. Like settings such as Forgotten Realms maybe pushed that a little bit. Settings like Planescape definitely helped push it away from it's all about combat to it's about the personality and the character and the story. Speaking of which, I am just going to announce the winner of the giveaway. So you'll remember a few weeks ago I said that I was running a giveaway for a softcover copy of Uncaged, Faces of Sigil, and you had to say which Planescape NPC you'd like to see in Dice Camera action. So there were so many good answers, and thank you all for entering. It was really hard to choose. I actually had to do a runner-up prize as well, so the runner-up prize is going to be a PDF copy of Uncaged, Faces of Sigil. So the winner is on Twitter at FableMaster, and the runner-up is at KikaVO. So I'm going to be contacting you guys soon for your information so I can get those prizes out to you. Congratulations. The winning entry was actually, so FableMaster Nick Fletcher said that they would want to see Rule of 3 get involved, with Tieflings and Yugoloths involved. I feel he and those he is connected with would with a need to get in on this action and bring in another dynamic to the Waffle group.
And that's Nick Fletcher, right? He's going to win the hardcover version of In the Cage, which is from...
Of Uncaged.
Uncaged.
Oh,
which
Uncaged.
is the NPC book.
Oh, the NPC book.
About all the characters.
And that's from Drive-Thru RPG, who started making print versions of the old books, and I really like some of them. They're really... And that one in particular is very, very nice, like the way they did it. And it's like...
Lots of excellent Tony DiTerlizzi art in there, which has inspired lots of artists like me and like Kayla Klein, who does all the art for In the Birdcage and for Holly, and also has inspired people like Holly. So I hope that inspires some of you as well. And if you haven't heard of Tony DiTerlizzi, go look up his art. If you're not familiar with his Planescape art, you may be familiar with his kids' book series, Spiderwick Chronicles. He did all the art for that as well.
This was got a art book, I think, on Amazon. I actually wrote a review of
I have the art book.
Yeah. And I basically, what I did was, when I wrote a review of it, it was just, here's the really cool pictures that I really like, you know? So it's just a list of like, I'm a big... Holly actually has a tattoo, I think, of the Lady of Pain that he drew, which is awesome. It's like, that's like, if I was going to get a tattoo, that's what I would get, like a Lady of Pain tattoo.
Now, speaking of Planescape, do we feel like the series is going to be the show's going to be going there now that the Atropole has been done with and the Death Curse is defeated?
I think so. I think everything's kind of leading toward there. The character motivations, a few of them are heading there, or heavily hinted heading there.
This season is supposed to end, he said, on episode 90?
90. We have 3 left.
So, I mean, what? I guess they have to meet Mr. Fox, right?
So
that's 1 or 2 episodes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So that would jump right into Planescape from there, probably, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. So,
crossing my fingers, hopefully.
I think we're just about there, right? I mean, it was only a couple episodes left. They're going to meet Mr. Fox, which Shemeshka wants the spectacles, right? And X the Mystic
and the spell
book. I guess it has every spell or whatever, or something.
And probably higher level monsters planar monsters from Mordenkainen's can show up if they go to the outer planes and stuff.
Do you think he's gonna like roll something out from that book every session? Is that?
I feel like maybe he's going to start rolling out a few things to do with that towards the end, since we're getting to the end of the content from Tomb of Annihilation, and he's obviously tried to keep the tomb itself unspoiled. So I think that we're going to start seeing some of Chris's own story, perhaps a few hints to what's coming up next with published adventures. And Lightning Fast is very correct. The Skizix Lorcatha Schism, we're going to see more of that for sure. Because
Yeah.
once this whole Death Ghost thing is over, it's back to, well, what's the more immediate danger? We're still being pursued by mercy killers, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we still have a promise we need to keep to an Arcana Loth, otherwise we're going to probably die.
Yep. They can't really run away from her.
All right, let's see. We got a backlog of comments. All right, Silverhood back onto. Do you think that Evelyn's soul was made into a mortar by Lathander when she first met him? I don't know.
A martyr?
I guess maybe a martyr.
I
I don't. Something's up with that. I don't know. Yeah, but I agree with the people who think she's gonna become a saint, or she might like become a chosen like right now. You know, like maybe right after this, she's gonna become a chosen and get some special powers. You know. Maybe, I don't know. Cyrnus, I am currently running Tomb of Annihilation, so I am incredibly interested in how my players handle the tomb. Well, I can tell you, I've ran most of it, and it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Maybe I'm just too soft. My rules calls are always err kind of on the side of give them the good. If I'm not sure, I always go with their good part. But I guess it really depends on your players, depending on how reckless they are. You know, and how, but the tomb is like, once you get into some of those rooms, it doesn't matter if you're reckless or not. You're just kind of in the, it's like somebody threw you into the washing machine, you know, and you just survive, you know, and that's it. You're like a sock, you know, and you have to just get cleaned and not die. Wicked Ray Gun, totally agree. Let's see. By the way, I had a great time playing. I played today. Okay, so. Annalise, you're doing the Waffle, the Waffle crew, the Dice Camera Action zine, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're doing the zine with all the fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
so Dice Camera Zine it's going to be a charity zine. So basically, a zine is like a small, independently made magazine full of art and writing and homebrew content by all the people within the Waffle Crew community. So gathering together lots of big names and lots of people who are really passionate about making and about this show. And it's going to be raising money for Child's Play charity, which is the one run by Penny Arcade. And lots of the zine artists and creators have taken it upon themselves to start like advertising the zine by playing D&D games. And I believe you played in one.
Yeah, today before the show, I played with some of them, and Andy Hatton ran it. Andy, actually, I'm making a DM's Guild product with him that'll be out in a few weeks, Miracles Tome of Foes. So he ran it, and he played with, it's funny, like kind of online, there's kind of this, you recognize names of fans of Dice Camera Action as time goes on. You know, if you're on the subreddit or if you're on Twitter, it's kind of people stick out. And so it was weird because I played with some of these people who I recognized like from their avatar photo, or it was really strange, you know? And so it was like, I played with Holly Hemlock and Soup, I think that's what she goes by. And a guy Marty.
Yes.
And every one of them was in real life a character, and their characters were characters. They had really like well-defined characters, and it was really fun. It was a really cool idea that they're running games to kind of. The zine has created D&D groups, you know.
It's created several. So there's the one that Andy Hatton is running. So he's got 2 different groups running there. I think 2 or 3 now. It's taken on a life of its own, and I know Lightning Fast Dan, who you played with, is also running another game for a bunch of the zine artists called Role Playing, and it's gotten a lot more traction than I ever thought it would, and I think that is a testament to the power of this community to take something special and just roll with it.
I think to me what it says is like these shows like Dice Camera Action teach people how to be a good player and a good DM. They can watch Chris and they can watch the players, because you know I've said this before, but in a game store it was such a crapshoot when people would come in, half the time it's like, oh man, like they don't know how to behave, they don't know what they're doing, and their social skills aren't so great, you know, or whatever. But when you're watching Dice Camera Action, you watch one episode and I think you get. It's just they think, okay, that's how D&D is played, and so it's like such an awesome. It's so helpful, right?
And
Yeah.
DCA is something which it doesn't have a lot of the old hallmarks of D&D or tabletop RPGs. You don't have like the Roll20 or the real life board with your minis or your map. That's put aside. You don't have a lot of your other things. Like you see the character stats on the side, but that is still quite a minor thing. It's all harkening back to theatre of the mind and a shared storytelling experience. And it's showing that you don't need to be in person to have that. You can be in your own bedroom, in your own house, wherever, from different sides of the globe, and still enjoying something together.
So can you say, like, I don't know anything about the zine. Like, can you? I don't want you to spoil it, but can you tell me like some of the stuff that might be in it?
Well, we are going to have a few different things. I should start talking about it since the deadline for artists is coming up soon. And spoiler alert, I'm doing an entry for it, and I've actually yet to start mine. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm also working on lots.
Yeah, Shauna's actually got something as well. There's going to be a whole lot of different things in there. I mentioned having homebrew stuff in the zine, which is something I haven't really seen other fan and community zines do. But I feel like it's something that we needed to have because this is still a D&D show. So we have a few of the homebrew creators who are making spells or special items that you can add to your games, and they're putting up all the stat blocks for that and all the rules for them. Kayla Klein and TK Joins the Fray are working on something a bit special, which is going to be a pre-order bonus for the zine. So there's going to be a few things that you can get as well as the zine as pre-order bonuses to help us raise more money for Child's Play charity, such as stickers and little acrylic charms, which I can say that the acrylic charms are being worked on by Shelbs Can Draw, who is one of the more prominent Waffle Crew artists. She does amazing work in a very, very cute and quite charming art style. So there's going to be a few limited things which you can get, which will be announced soon. We're starting to get everything planned out. The zine itself will be shipped out later this year, probably around August, September. The hope is to have it so that the release is on International Waffle Day.
Oh,
so
nice.
We'll see. Yes. We'll see if we can get that done. It is a lot of work though, and it is the first time that I've done such a huge community project. But I'm working alongside some amazing people who I have no doubt that we're going to get this all together.
Do you know how many pages it's going to be? Like, how big is this thing?
It's a lot larger than we first thought. I think it's probably going to be around 90 pages.
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big.
Because we have some stories as well as art in there, so they're going to have a couple pages.
Because the community is more than just the artists. It's also like the people who are the writers, the people who make D&D related content and all of that. And we also have people who are making things like we have Stephanie Howe, who's making her Simon puppet, like an actual full-size murder bot. There's going to be photos of that in there. And Metalwork Pegasus is going to have some DCA themed jewelry, which will be photographed and put in the zine. So we've tried to reach out to lots of different parts of the community to be able to show how diverse it is.
When you say full size Simon, like you mean like feet tall, like 2 feet tall or something? Really?
Yes. You can actually go see the progress for that, because this was something which Steph had started doing before the zine, but we wanted to include it in the zine because it's an amazing piece of work. So their Twitter handle is StopMoSteph on Twitter. So like stop motion. So StopMoSteph with a PH at the end, and you can go see the amazing work that they're doing with this murder bot. It is. All the work in the zine is phenomenal.
Yes,
I think I need to say it shows how talented the community is.
And the Dice Camera zine, Twitter has previews of a bunch of stuff that's going in there, right?
Yes, it does. So lots of the artists now tweeting out previews, like small little cropped photos of their work, and making sure to retweet that all on the Dice Camera Zine Twitter, which is just at Dice Camera Zine, so ZINE, like at the end of magazine. And it's very exciting.
A bunch of wonderful work out there.
Into the photon storm, you are so cruel, saying that the puppet now just needs to be a pile of charred wood.
No!
Too soon.
No. That'd be funny if somebody made like a ventriloquist dummy of it, so it can make the stupid jokes, you know? That'd be funny. When is International Waffle Day, do you know? Like, when is this?
I believe it's sometime in August.
What is
Let's have a look.
March, April, May. Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. Do you know how much it's going to be? Like, how much is?
Still settling on prices, but we're trying to work it out. There's going to be a few different price points because I know that not everyone is able to like pay for shipping to get their own personal copy of the zine or to get all of the different bits of merch that we're supplying. So there is going to be a PDF version, and the price for that is probably going to be $10 US, and that will be like a PDF version in full color. National Waffle Day is August 24th, so we'll try to get it out by then, but the definite goal I'd like to have is to have it out before PAX West.
Ryujin Zero. How about that Lathander prayer of Paulton's? I believe the prayer went, he grabbed the head, and I typed it up. It was something kind of, hey Lathander, you idiot, or something like that.
Yes.
Hey Lathander, you jerk-ass bitch.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Lathander, you punk bitch.
Lathander, you punk ass.
Give her back. Hallowed be thy name, GG. That was the summary of the prayer. It's very good. Very happy with.
I like the role that Paulton's taken of almost that fourth wall breaker. It's a very Bard thing, which I think he's playing well. Like I'm sure you guys touched on it last week with the chat, you can't rush these things comment.
How long till Diath does a prayer to baby god Lathander? I think Diath, it's kind of funny. The group has kind of got there too. You know, there's Evelyn and Paulton, and then there's Strix and Diath, and they both kind of have their own deal. It would be interesting to see.
Strix did pray to Lathander.
Strix has, yeah.
No answer. Yeah. No answer. That bothered me. That really.
Yes.
It was like a really dark thing. It really bugged me for a while. I would love to see it if Diath had to break into a temple of Lathander for some reason. That would be very interesting, you know, to put him in that kind of a spot. You know?
And I think that even though the others may not believe in Lathander, or they know his power, they don't necessarily believe in Lathander, but they believe in Evelyn. And that's just as powerful, if not more powerful.
It's funny, Evelyn is more, how do I put this? Lathander is there, but not there. But Evelyn is there, and Evelyn is real, and Evelyn never falters, ever, right? There is no, they can rely on Evelyn always.
Yeah.
Period. Right?
She, in the face of certain annihilation of her soul, she still flew up to the soulmonger to let herself be devoured. I don't think there's any more powerful show of faith in your god and in yourself than that.
It's like Evelyn is more. I think it's almost like Evelyn almost shows up her own god in a way, and that she's such a powerful vessel for the god that she outshines her own god. That's how I feel sometimes.
It feels like Evelyn believes in her god, therefore she believes in herself.
Yeah, and it's just like she's a very she's just 100% devoted to good, and it's such an interesting like kind of D&D experiment. Someone to completely just run a really, you know, most people don't run a really good character as straight. You know, I mean, she does do jokes and stuff, but she's straight good, Waffle good, right down the middle.
Oh, she's neutral good.
Yeah.
Is she really?
Yeah, but she's still good.
It's funny because she's just like, she's a very, very, very good aligned character. You know, she's not, I don't know, she's really like strong presence within the group, you know, because you've got Strix, who's always kind of falling apart, Dieth, who's like crippled by self-doubt, and then Paulton, who's kind of lost in the booze, but then you've got Evelyn, who's like just this blinding force that kind of, you know, just leads them forward, you know, no matter what. And she's willing to sacrifice whatever, you know, to keep them going forward.
She's kind of gotten out of the spot of like the paladin as the spoilsport member of it. Like, she's good, but she's not like the police of the team. And they rely on her. Yeah,
she enjoys shenanigans.
She
and I think that what Dieth said back in the Fireside episode of Dice Camera Action is true, that Evelyn is their guiding star and their guiding light, is what keeps them on track and steers them towards the light in the end.
She's a great paladin character. Not many people, you know, you don't even see it on these streams that much where somebody runs a paladin. She does really great.
It's hard to run a good paladin.
If you look at the C team, Dinar is a paladin, but he is completely different.
He is.
Yeah.
Yes, he's I think he's an Oath of Vengeance paladin. He's one of the darker oaths, but he's definitely completely different. He's narcissistic and full of himself, and almost having that belief in himself is what gives him the strength. But Evelyn is completely different, and I think she is, for this generation of D&D players, is probably what you would point to and say, that is your traditional type of paladin done in a new way. It's Paladin Appreciation Day every day on Waffle Talk. In this house, we love and appreciate Evelyn, Avlona, Helvig, Marthane.
I love paladins in general. Yeah, it's a great character. Every character on the show is pretty great. Someone just said that Paulton is the Deadpool of D&D, which I think is kind of like the way he is approaching the character now, and I think it's really working.
That is an apt description, actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty good how he ended up, and I think it's a good place. It's a good fit, I think, for Nate to run his character in that kind of mindset, you know. All right, so
quickly before we wrap up, let's just touch on a few of the announcements that came out. Strix is going to be a character in the Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms game, which you can get on Steam, which is pretty exciting because they've only ever really had Force Grey characters before this. Probably going to get a lot of new players out of this. And if you're watching the rerun of this on Thursday on the D&D channel, you're about to watch episode 4 of In the Birdcage. And do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I still haven't seen episode 3. So.
Oh, I'm loving it so far. It's definitely they're definitely running with the Always Sunny like comparison with that show. It's wonderful. And Ross was really good.
I love Nejma. That's my favorite. She's awesome.
You need to watch episode 3 because Ross is in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes. A Danny DeVito ooze method.
I would say from episode 1, the first time Nejma said anything, like I cracked up, and from the whole show, then I'm just waiting for her to say other stuff. That's just been the whole show for me. It's been Hadil making me laugh. That's that whole show to me.
Yes.
She's awesome. And also just Holly's a good DM. Holly's a freaking good DM, period.
We love you, Holly. Yeah. And you should come back on the show sometime.
Yeah. So, all right. Got any plugs? Annalise, you got any plugs you want to plug?
So I wasn't on Classic Crawls this week. I've been taking a week off to recover from some health issues. But I will be back on next week because my party can't seem to not CPK without me. So that's going to happen. I think I'll also be in Tomb of Annihilation this week with you, Sean.
Probably.
I think that's the case, yeah. So I'll be playing a few different D&D games coming up this week and next. So keep an eye out for that. As always, follow the Dice Camera Zine Twitter at Dice Camera Zine on Twitter. And yeah, I'll hopefully be back into creating some art and some new things soon. It's been a bit slow on my end, but everything is getting back to normal.
Shauna?
Yeah, so my thing is probably going to be plugging away at the DCA zine piece. Then might be putting up some pieces as I go through the work on progress. And I've also been playing in Sean's Tomb of Annihilation game. We just had one last week, and they've been going up on the Sean's YouTube channel, Power Score RPG. And you can just see how terrifying the tomb actually is. It is really terrifying.
Yeah, so this show will be rebroadcast on Thursday. On Friday, I think I'm playing in Grant Ellis's game, the Pigton game. And between you and the people watching this, I think I'm changing my character. My character kind of took a weird turn. And I thought of a really funny mustachy character that I wanted to make, so I might switch to that. Saturday, I think I'm going to run 2 sessions of the tomb, maybe, hopefully. One probably at 3 p.m. and then one at 6:30. The 6:30 one will probably be the one that Annalise and the original tomb group will be going through. Sunday will be Dungeon Academy Episode 5. We're actually going to start the Battle of Emerald Meadows, which is the Chris Perkins Temple of Elemental Evil prequel. And that group is another group made up of Dice Camera Action fans, and they're just tremendous players, all of them. It's just a great group. So yeah, so we'll see you all soon, and thank you all for watching. And yeah, oh, and don't forget that right now Anna is running her game, and I think Holly said she was going to be playing in it. So everybody, you should jump over there right now, because I really want to see how that goes. All right, so thank you, everybody. We'll see you again next time. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.